I've been putting off telling this story about how I got cheated on for the entire time I was married to my husband of 17 years.
They've been married for 17 years. Imagine you being married for 17 years and you had no idea that your husband has been having multiple affairs. You do not know. You found out the first one, you thinking that was all. You went on and you realized that it has been going on and they are older women. But you guys, I want you also to watch the story time together. But then I would like you to know that the end of this story time really shocked me. Let's watch the story time together and I'll share my thoughts at the end of the video.
Putting off telling this story about how I got cheated on for the entire time I was married to my husband of 17 years. I had no idea that it was even happening. So I'm going to do this in a couple parts and tell this story because a lot of you have been asking me about it. I've shared a lot of pieces, but I've never put it actually together. So if you want to hear the whole thing, follow me and I will tell this terrible tale. Just to set the stage, I met him in my late 20s. The minute I met him, I was like, oh, I like this guy. There's something about him. And I had this almost like inner voice. I don't even know how to explain it. That was like, this guy is going to be really important in your life. Like, I could almost say I heard it inside of me. He's going to be your soulmate, nothing, but this guy's going to be really important. And that's how it felt like, almost like I kind of knew him already at some level. We hit it off really well. We had great chemistry. We had a good friendship. Our two best friends actually ended up getting married. So we had so much fun as, you know, couples dating and stuff. And he just seemed like this super good guy. My family liked him. My friends really liked him. Everybody just felt like, we called him like a Mr. Steady, like somebody who just is somebody you can depend on, a hardworking person. He just seemed like he really adored me. I felt loved. I felt cherished. I felt really safe with him. And the marriage seemed to start off really well. There were no big red flags. The only things were he had been married before and he never really talked about his marriage. And I thought, okay, that's a good thing. Like, he isn't trashing her. They have no drama. He's just moving on. Now, in retrospect, I realize that he is such an avoidant. He basically like compartmentalized that relationship because he also left all of his friends that he had during that time in his life. He just like cut them off. And there was no emotion there. No emotion about her. No emotion about his friends. No emotion about his former life. It was just like, I'm on to a new life. You are my new life now. We're moving on. And that's really worrisome in retrospect. But at the time, I actually thought it was really respectful as far as like, he's not trashing her and they have no drama. And the other thing is that I did catch him in a couple lies. I overheard him talking to his mom and she asked him a tough question about something and he lied to her straight up about it. And that should have given me a little clue that he was willing to lie in order to avoid drama. He did the same thing with me. With me, it was a little more of a white lie. It wasn't a huge deal, but he knew that I would be upset with him if I knew the truth. And he lied anyway. So those were my little clues. Marriage. Other than that, nothing. Follow me for the next part. I'm going to talk about how I found out about the first of many affairs. 3 things happened in my marriage that should have given me a clue that my husband was cheating on me the entire time, but they didn't. So if you're here, welcome to part 2 of how I got cheated on and had no idea for the entire 17 years I was married to my husband. So if you want to hear the whole crappy tale, just follow me right here. The first thing that happened was that I saw a message from a stripper pop up on his iPad. I guess it was a stripper, it could have been a prostitute. I don't really know. Somebody who was paid to do things. Anyway, he was in Vegas with a bunch of his coworkers for a bachelor party, and this message pinged up on his iPad, which he had left, and probably not realizing that it synced with his phone. And I went into total shock. I just remember I lost all the feeling in my limbs and my head and felt like I was gonna faint, and I started shaking so violently I could barely dial my best friend's number. But I called her and she talked me down from the ledge. She's like, it doesn't sound like him. He loves you so much. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. You need to call him and talk to him. So I did. I called him. He had the explanation that it wasn't somebody for him. He was setting up the stripper for the party, which, I wasn't super stoked on, because who wants to know that your husband's watching a stripper? But it was a bachelor party in Vegas. So it made sense to me and I let it go. Okay, second thing happened farther into the marriage, maybe like 10 years. For some reason on his phone popped up a picture of a girl that he had saved in his photos. And I had a real hit, like a intuition hit, like it felt wrong. Something felt wrong. It wasn't a sexy picture, but it was somebody I didn't know. There was no sort of explanation about who it could have been with. Like, she wasn't with people I knew, and something felt really off. And I actually didn't say anything for a couple days. I kind of sat with it because I kind of went into a panic feeling. And anyway, after a couple days, I did ask him, who is this? And he just said, oh, it's my friend's wife. Don't worry about it. It's like, it was a joke picture that he sent me. I don't know. In retrospect, the explanation makes no sense. But at the time, I was like, okay, whatever. And I let it go, probably because I didn't want to face anything. And the final thing that happened during our marriage was a little more subtle, but it was just these big behavior changes. And I've talked about this in other videos before. So he would go through these periods of time where all of a sudden, like a switch, he would just stop wanting to have sex very often. And he would get really mean to me. His temper would flare. And for like no reason. And he'd also be really distant from me, and it just made no sense. And like one time we were on a trip with a bunch of friends, and he was treating me so badly, and I was like, what is happening? I have no clue. And we get in this big fight about it, and he's like, well, maybe we should just get a divorce. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, it just so came out of nowhere. So this was a pattern that happened multiple times through our marriage. And then finally, when everything came out, it all kind of started to make sense why this was happening. So finally, I get up to the juicy part of finding out about the big first affair. And I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. If you're a mom, you're really going to hate this because it involves my kid. So follow me for more. The way I found out that my husband of 17 years was cheating on me the entire time was so sad to me, because I found out through my son. So about 6 months before I found out, things were getting really hard between us. Our pretty good marriage up until that part was kind of falling apart. He was being so mean to me. He was being very distant. He was working all the time, and I just didn't know what was happening. And when I would go to him and ask, he would just shut me down. So one night, my teenage son came into my room right before bed, and he's like, Mom, I need to talk to you about something. Ugh, it's hard to talk about. And he came in and he said, Mom, Dad left his phone in the car, and a message came up on it, and it said, babe, how was your day? And I think Dad's having an affair. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'm sure there's an explanation. I just tried to smooth things over. I'm like, I'll talk to Dad, don't worry. But inside my heart, I knew that was probably the reason why things had gotten so tough. So in the saga of how my husband of 17 years was cheating on me the entire time and I had no idea, it started to get pretty intense. So my son had seen a text from his girlfriend saying, babe, how was your day? And my son came to me and told me about it. It was the worst thing. And I had to wait another day until my husband came home from work. I had to wait until he came home. As soon as he left the house, I went into his work bag, took out his iPad, because the man just doesn't ever remember that his phone syncs with his iPad. This is literally how I caught him before talking to a stripper. So on the iPad, I found 6 months of texts. They were having an affair, and I actually know who she is. She worked for us. We had an investment property in another state, and she was the property manager. So I knew that they had a working relationship. I never thought anything about it, partly because she told me that she was 8 months months pregnant. Now, because she was in another state, I only saw her on, an iPad or whatever. Never thought anything of it. She had like 3-4 kids, something. She was married. And I just never thought there was an issue. Even though when I was out of town one time, my husband told me that they had gone out to lunch together. Again, thought nothing of it because she was 8 months pregnant. Ew! But of course, that was actually a big fat lie, and she was not pregnant at all. Then once I found all these messages, I knew this was happening. Then I had to wait again until he went to work. He works 24 to 96-hour shifts. So I had to wait as soon as he left the next day after the worst 24 hours of my life. I also contacted a lawyer, and the lawyer told me, you need to file for divorce because it'll put an end on your finances, because if he's having affairs like this, then he's probably spending a lot of money and you don't even know about it. So then I found out that he wasn't even actually at work. He was actually traveling to see her in another state. I thought he was at work. He was with her. So now I'm waiting 4 days for him to come home, knowing he's with her, knowing this information, but I don't want to call him because then he's with her. And it's like, I know he'll just run to her. And then what if I don't have contact with him? Whatever. I wanted him back in the state. I wanted to be able to have contact with him before I talked to him about it. So I figured out what flight he was on. The minute he got off the flight, I started clocking it and figuring out, okay, he's probably in his car, blah, blah, blah. So I call him and he's driving, and I just said, hey, I need you to pull over. And he freaked out because he was like, what's wrong? Is it the kids? I'm like, don't worry about it. Just pull over. So he pulls over and I'm like, okay, gig's done. I know you're having an affair. And he started to deny it. I was like, don't even. I saw all the texts and I know everything. And he just kind of stopped and was like, okay, what do you want me to do? So if you want to hear the next part of how my life fell apart, just follow me and listen to the whole Jerry Springer next part. So how I found out that my husband of 17 years was cheating on me the entire time we were married. So the first affair I found out about, my son had come to me. He had seen a text on his dad's phone. It said, babe, how was your day? And that opened up the can of worms. I found out about the first affair. 6 months long. He'd been flying to another state to see her, missing work. I thought he was at work. He worked for days at a time. So in the weeks following me finding out about the affair, of course, it was absolute hell. We ended up having all these little conversations, and he told me that he was breaking up with her and he wanted to go to counseling with me. And after the big talk where we came to this agreement, I remember walking up into my kitchen and I was so excited that maybe my marriage could be saved. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, we're going to go to counseling. Maybe there's something that can work. Maybe he can work through this. And remember, I think there's only one affair happening at this point. And I kid you not, hang up with my mom and ding, on my cell phone, up pops an anonymous message saying, hey, I just thought you should know your husband was seen out in blah, blah town with another woman. And honestly, my first instinct was it has to be a prank because he's seeing somebody who is living in another state. That can't be her. So I started questioning this anonymous texter. What is going on? Like, is this for real? And she's like, I'm assuming it's a she. Yeah, there's pictures. And she starts just sending picture after picture after picture of him, let's just say, doing things that weren't with me. So turns out that he's cheating on me with the person in the other state. And then he's cheating on her, because he never actually broke up with her, with somebody he met in town. And he's cheating on her with somebody who lives in another town. I kid you not. And yeah, I'm kind of laughing about this because I've had time to process this and everything, but I don't know how to say it in any other way except that this completely destroyed me to my core, to my soul. This took every part of me and it ripped it up and it threw it in the trash and then stamped on it and lit it on fire. So all in all, I found out that he had cheated on me the first year we were married, about year 9, the 6-monther with the woman in another state, and then all these other women. I also suspect that there were other ones, but he's never admitted to them. But there are things like receipts and pictures, things like that, that show me that there were other women. Actually, yeah, I do actually know about like two others. It starts to get a little blurry once you get to like three or four. You know what I mean? All in all, it's just been one heck of a year. I have been trying to recover. I've been doing this TikTok to make community and to share my story. And I am beyond grateful for each woman who shared her story with me. You guys, you are amazing. You are warriors, and we are going to rise up. We are going to end up being better off in the end. Somehow, I truly believe that there is something in our pain that can be used for good. And I just wish each one of you so much healing over the next couple years. We're going to get through this. And thank you for being here with me. So when I found out that my husband of 17 years was having an affair, I immediately went to my therapist. And one of the first things she said to me was, just be aware there's probably going to be more secrets that come out. And at the time I was like, no way, this has got to be everything. There can't be more. I know that he was faithful to me up to this point. Well, there was more. Anyway, we started having these little brief, very tense conversations. And I did go to him and say, hey, I feel like I deserve to know if there were any other affairs. And he got the weirdest look in his face. I don't know how to explain it, except he almost looked like demon possessed. I know that sounds weird, but he had like this evil, like smirk on his face. And he was like, yeah, there have been others. So he admitted that around, I think it was like year 9, and he admitted that he had been having an affair at that time. I think this is when I found that receipt for Tiffany's jewelry a couple weeks ago. I think it was for that woman, whoever that was. He also told me, and this absolutely blew my mind, that he had had an affair the first year that we were married. I had no clue. There was absolutely nothing. We were happily newlyweds. I had no reason to think that he would cheat on me. And it destroyed me to hear that. Some other things came out too. I am a little fuzzy on what happened actually, because I kind of disassociated, and any of you who've been through it, this kind of an experience, probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It was like my mind left my body and I couldn't absorb what was happening to me. So some of the details are actually really fuzzy. But after a couple weeks, we had a big talk. And we both came to the conclusion that we were going to work on the marriage, going to go to a counselor and at least have a conversation to kind of talk through things. And he was acting very, at this point, like, okay, I see I have a problem and I want to help you heal in any way that I can. And he even offered to do what's called a disclosure, where he would go through with a therapist and go through all of the secrets that he had and would tell me about it. Because up to this point, what he'd been doing is kind of breadcrumbing. So he would throw out something and it would completely re-traumatize me. And this was happening over and over and over. After this big talk, I felt so much hope. And I remember I came upstairs from where he was living up into my part of the house. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I think we're going to work on this. Maybe there's hope. And within about 5 minutes of that, my phone pinged and I got an anonymous text from another woman. If you want to hear about what happened then, just go ahead and follow me and I'll talk about it tomorrow.
Once a cheat will always be a cheat. I really don't understand why women don't get this. Once a cheat will always be a cheat. The moment you find that, in fact, when she said that she never had an idea that her husband was cheating on her for 17 years, I didn't want to believe it, because at a point, your intonation, something will tell you that something is off. But you just be like questioning it, or you be doubting it. That's just the only thing. Something will tell you something is off, but you are not just paying attention to it. At a point, you would know that something is off somewhere, but then because there's not much evidence, or you trust so much, you just be like, nothing really, really. You will not really go deep into whatever your mind is telling you. I feel like for that past 17 years, she must, in fact, before she found out now, She must have been saying one or two hints that will tell her that something is going on. But then she might just be like, it's not right. But you guys, after the whole thing, she's saying that they had a very big talk. Me, I was wondering, what are you people talking about? And after the big talk, she said they want to work things out. He wants to go to therapy now. He wants to be opening up to her and all of that. I never expected something like that. Anyway, but I don't expect you to still have a big talk with somebody like that that deceived you, that is abusing you, because cheating is a form of abuse. If you don't know, he's abusing you for the past 17 years, deceived you. You've been faithful to him for the past, unless you are not also faithful. Both of you are doing your thing, even though it's not even safe for you and your child. Your child already even have an idea that the father is cheating on you. That is even worse. And you now had a big talk. Me, I was thinking the big talk was, oh, finally we're going our separate ways. But now she's trying to work. What do you want to work out? Like, what do you want to work out? The way men makes women have this delusional mindset, as if, oh no, it's not me, it's the devil, or I'm going to change. The way I don't know, I just feel like they don't change. And that is it. A man will change if he wants to. They do not change. If you like, he follow you to therapy, he pretend as if everything is over, then it's back again. It might even be chilled about it for the next 5 years. And you'll be like, oh my god, I got my husband back. He will go back to where he was. The fact that you already know that he has deceived you back in the years with multiple women. What is making you trust him again in that marriage? That you feel like you're going to work things out. What are you working out? You're not even the problem to start with. He's the one that cannot put his things inside his mind. He will tell you he's going to work, but he's traveling with other women. He has different, not just one, different states and different region that he's sleeping with, and you still want to work things out with him. Definitely, you're putting your health at risk. I feel like women should always like think about themselves and think about, maybe you should just love yourself, because I feel like if you really understand and love yourself, you won't settle for a man like this again. The fact that he has been deceiving you for the past 17 years, that alone shows that you should leave him, in my own opinion. Anyway, you guys, what is your take on this story time? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, respectfully, as always. Sugar Maya David, and thank you so much for tuning in today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one, guys.